Welcome guys, welcome back guys to another video. I wanted to make a comment or give my commentary on what recently just happened with Cam Newton. I know it's not that recent, but it's recent to me. I heard about it yesterday. Some video went viral of some teenagers, some youth that were jumping on him. And I was listening to the podcast from what do you call it, Nightcap, with Ocho Cinco and Shay Shay and Shannon Sharp, and I heard their commentary on it, and I was like, okay, they were coming at it from a perspective, especially Shannon Sharp. He was coming at it from a perspective of disrespect, and he was to the Shannon Sharp held the sentiment of, okay, if kids are going to disrespect me, I'm not even going to come out there to help them. Because this is not the first time that it's been shown where youth have disrespected Cam Newton. There was another video before that did kind of go viral to a certain degree. It wasn't physical altercation, but it was more verbal. And Shannon Sharp was like, no, once I get to the point where as an adult I have children, youth disrespected me, then I'm not going to come out there anymore, because I know I don't want it to get to where it shouldn't be. I'm not going to allow it to continue to fester and allow that to grow into something that it should not grow into. Where you have Ocho Cinco saying, well, I like to talk trash amongst people. That's just how I motivate people, and that's how I get myself going, and that's how I get the people going. And Shannon Sharp was like, no, I wouldn't do that, because you put yourself, when you start doing that and talking trash to young teenagers, you start putting yourself on their level. And you almost have to have a demarcative line in the sand that's drawn, that says, look, I'm the adult, you are the pupil, I'm the teacher, I'm the authoritative figure here, you're the student, you're the athlete. No different than a coach to an athlete. But Ocho Cinco didn't see it that way. He felt that, talking trash is just part of it. But I'm more leaning to Shannon Sharp's response to that, is that you don't put yourself down to the level of your students. And if you're out there with youth and you're training and you guys are going through drills or 7-on-7 drills, whatever you guys are doing out there, you have to be very careful in how you communicate to the youth. You want to communicate from a position of authority. You want to communicate from a position of a prime perspective. No pun intended. I'm talking about prime. When I say prime perspective, I mean you are the expert. You are the savant. Now you're the one that's coming there. They should be at awe of you. So it's no different than a high school kid or a middle schooler or anybody seeing their favorite athlete, whether it's an athlete that's already retired or if it's an athlete that's still in the game. You're in awe. Your jaws just drop. You're like, oh my God, that's so and so. You're in reverence to that athlete. And so to see that happening to Cam Newton, I think that's very it's sad. But I'm gonna take a different take than what Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco said. Shannon Sharp was more so like, I won't do it. Ocho Cinco's like, well, I like to talk trash, but I'll keep it to the point where it won't get to that point where it gets physical. But that's the point. You can't control consequences. All you can do is control your actions. So if you decide to put yourself in the level of your students, then don't be shocked or alarmed when those students start to see you as their equal and they start to disrespect you. And that nobility, that virtue of respect is lost. And there's different types of respect. I don't think that an adult needs to respect a child the way a child respects an adult. I don't expect an adult to tell a child, yes, sir, or no, ma'am. That's ridiculous. I do expect an adult to treat, a person with dignity, treat them with care. You may have to teach them hard lessons, and the kid may perceive the hard lessons as something that's cruel. But as the adult, you have to teeter the line of being a harsh disciplinarian and a critic, but also a person that shows tremendous amount of care and passion and empathy toward that child. So there's a balance there. It can't be just all love and no critique. It has to be both. Yeah, you're going to be hard on the ones you're teaching, but you're also going to be very loving towards those that you teach. It's a harmonious balance that's infused in the dynamic of adult to student relationship. So respect for an adult and respect for a child are two different things, but nevertheless, respect needs to be inserted. But this is where I'm going to take my different approach from what Ocho Cinco and Shannon Sharp said. I blame all this on Cam Newton. I blame this all on him. I'm going to tell you why I blame this all on him. I'm going to tell you why. I blame this all on him because what have you done to put yourself out there to the point where these young athletes don't respect you? Now, I agree a little bit with Shannon Sharp. Once this first sign of disrespect was shown a couple of years back, you should have stopped this. Because what happens now is that people talk. And it's almost like they're getting a sort of, they're getting, what's the proverbial saying that people like to say? Like they're getting extra accolades or extra acknowledgement or extra street cred for being the person that disrespected an ex-NFL athlete. So if a kid disrespected him 2 years ago, and I'm sure that was not the first time, that was just the first time probably we've seen it on video. So whatever you see on video, guys, multiply that times 10. Usually what's caught on video means that it's happened repeatedly to the point where it can be caught on video now. It's a usual, it's the norm. So when Cam Newton, I keep saying Newton, when Cam Newton is doing these camps, allowing these students to get exposure, as Ocho Cinco said, what message is being driven to that community about Cam Newton? I know what's being said. It's being said that you can disrespect him and he'll permit it. See, in life, there are three things you can do, whether you're doing it indirectly or you're doing it directly, inadvertently, or you're doing it by commission or omission. Your actions are going to dictate the consequences. So you're either promoting something, you're advocating it, or you're tolerating it. And I think that Cam Newton is doing all three. And that's why it's his fault. I'm not going to blame a child for being disrespectful, because that's what children do. They have to be whipped into shape. But because Cam Newton is not their parent, and you can't parent parents. That's the worst thing you can do. Tell a parent how to parent. They get really into their emotions and into their feelings, and then they end up attacking you, telling you, you don't tell me how to raise my child. So we understand where the breakage occurs. The breakage occurs from home. Lack of proper home training. And those kids out there are very disrespectful. But this is not a 50% proposition. It's not like 50% the kids and 50% Cam Newton. I'm saying it's 100% Cam Newton. Because once you've absorbed the way the climate is, and once you've seen the environment for what it is, then you should have stopped a long time ago. Because once you've lost your credibility as a person that demands respect, then you should quit. They tell this to teachers all the time. It's hard to regain a class back once the class already sees you as a person they could run over. You have to establish that foundation in the first couple of weeks, first couple of months. Then you can kind of ease up and be a little bit more lax later on. But if you look at what Cam Newton is going through, these youth have been disrespecting him for a long time. Now, I haven't known of it getting physical, but in terms of verbal, he's been. But I guess he doesn't think of it as a big deal, but it is a big deal because it tends to have a snowball effect. What happens is that it goes from verbal, then from verbal, it gets to physical. Then from physical, it gets to shooting. That's the sequence. That's the logical sequence. Because things either get worse or better. Nothing stays the same in life. That's just the law of the universe. So if people are disrespecting you already, Cam Newton, as an adult, you should say, okay, hold on. Is this something that I really want to do? I'm going to stop this. But then again, I ask myself, because the example was brought up yesterday, in the nightcap with Ocho Cinco and Shay Shay. And Shannon Sharp said something to the point. He said, do you know that the Manning brothers have camps? Have you ever heard of them being disrespected by the kids? Hey, you haven't. You know why you haven't? Is because of the way they carry themselves. That's why I'm blaming all of this on Cam Newton. There's something that he must have did. He must have opened up the ability or enabled the youth to talk to him that way. And he probably has the same approach that Ocho Cinco has. Talking trash, talking down on their level. No, you don't talk down on their level. You're supposed to set yourself apart from them because you're the adult in the room. I know people today are big on, you got to meet the kids where they're at. You got to talk down on their level. I'm not doing that. Excuse my language. I'm not doing that shit. As an adult, I'm going to stay the adult. I'm going to bring you up to my standard. I'm not coming down to your standard. Now, so you're not going to reach them. Yeah, I can. I can reach them. I can reach them with language. I can reach them by teaching them discipline and teaching them how to respect their elders. You can teach that, and they'll thank you for it later. Trying to meet them at their level doesn't allow for kids to grow. It doesn't allow for anybody to grow. Actually, it retards you as the adult because now you're coming down to their level, and then the kids you're coming down to their level, they stay at their level. There's no growth. There's no room for evolution. There's no room for growth at all. So I blame all of this on Cam Newton. He started this. He started this camp, and he allowed for this type of environment to fester. People talk. Oh, I went to that Cam Newton camp. Yeah, it was cool. We're talking trash. I was talking shit to him. He was talking shit to me. We're doing this. We're doing. People talk. So there's already a built-in, no boundary kind of environment that's attached with Cam Newton. It's like no boundaries. You come and do whatever you want. And when you have lack of control and you don't have boundaries set in whatever you do in life, then you're going to allow things like that are going to happen. That's just a natural manifestation of not having boundaries and setting limits for yourself. So I'm not going to look at Cam Newton like the victim here, because that's the way Shay and Ocho Cinco were looking at it. Man, these kids are so disrespectful. Cam Newton is a better man than me. That's what Shannon Sharp said. He says Cam Newton is a better man than me, because if that was me, I would have stopped doing this a long time ago. Well, no, Cam Newton is not a better man than you. He's actually a worse man than you for allowing this to happen. See, we're seeing the aftermath on video. I'm trying to tell you guys, things like that doesn't happen by circumstance. That's something that's built. That type of aggression, that type of looseness, that type of enablement of disrespect from student to adult, that's something that's tolerated, permitted, and advocated. It is, but it starts with the adult, because whatever boundaries you set, either kids follow it or they're out. You should have strict standards. We're not going to tolerate disrespect in our program. The minute I see one iota of disrespect, you're gone. No refunds. You got to set the bar high in the beginning. But I think he has this attitude of come as you are. We're going to keep it real. We're not going to keep it fake. We're going to talk our trash. No, we don't do that. Now, the athletes can talk trash to each other, but I'm not going to insert myself in their verbiage. I'm not going to include myself in their trash talking. I'll be the mitigator. All right, guys, let's cut that out. Let's get back to work. Oh, okay, guys. Oh, no, we don't do that, guys. Oh, That's what the adult does. The adult in the room is the adult in the room. The adult in the room cannot be the kid in the room. Then all of a sudden decide conveniently when they want to be an adult. Then all of a sudden say, okay, I want to be the kid now. Oh, I want to be the adult. When you start vacillating between those two references, then you become a person that becomes a target. You become easily disrespected. Did you see on the video how some guy like balled up his fist? It's like a kid came out of nowhere and tried to knock Cam Newton out. That is insane. How does it get to that point? I've already told you how it got to that point. It got to that point because those were the seeds that were planted early on when Cam Newton first started this. He started off loose. It's hard to regain or recapture structure when you've already started off with a loose foundation. You'll have to just tear down the whole damn building and start from scratch. So my advice to Cam Newton would be to just stop it, quit it. That's something that I do agree with Shannon Sharp, that I wouldn't do it. I just don't do it anymore. And this idea, Ocho Cinco is like, well, he loves the kids. Nah, if he's doing it for the kids, they're not showing you the appreciation of what you're trying to do for them. Oh, take advantage of the situation, Ocho Cinco says. NFL scouts could be out there. You could take advantage of the situation. They're not looking at it that way, guys. They're not showing appreciation. Appreciation is shown by your actions. If you're fighting the man that's trying to give you an opportunity, to expand your athletic career, and that's the way you treat him, and then you don't deserve it. I would quit it. But then again, kids are going to do what you allow them to do. Take those same kids that were fighting Cam Newton on that video and put those kids in the Peyton Manning camp. Are you trying to tell me that Peyton Manning and Eli Manning are more physically imposing than Cam Newton? Cam Newton is like 6'4", 6'5", over 250 pounds, perhaps 260. It's a big guy, right? You trying to tell me that Peyton Manning is more intimidating, or Eli Manning look more intimidating than Cam Newton? No, it's not about who looks more intimidating. It's about what you tolerate. It's not about how big the teacher is or how big the coach is. It's about how disciplined the adult is. It's about the standards the adult sets. Kids are looking up to you. They're coming in knowing that, okay, this is the person that's going to lead this classroom. We're going to watch how this person leads this classroom, or we're going to watch how this person leads us on the basketball court. We're going to watch how this person leads us in the classroom, or on the football field. When people come into your program, they're looking to a leader, and I don't think Cam Newton is a good leader. I just don't. Things like that don't happen to good leaders. Do you think that if Michael Jordan had a camp, do you think that kids would be fighting him? Now, I'm not putting Michael Jordan and Cam Newton on the same level in terms of their accolades or in terms of their dominance in their respective sports. That's not what I'm doing. The point that I'm making with that analogy or with that comparison is that these are both men that played professional sports, that were successful in their field. Of course, we know Michael Jordan was way more successful than Cam Newton, but Cam Newton still had some success, and he's not a nobody. He's somebody. So you're trying to tell me that kids would be fighting? If kids were fighting on Jordan at some camp, then I'll blame Jordan too. I don't think these kids are just gonna bum rush an athlete that's over 6'5", 6'6", and just because they feel like it. That has to be something that has to be an environment that you cultivated. But I don't think Cam knew that he was young. I mean, he's young. We have to learn from our mistakes. He's a relatively young man. I mean, he's not an older man. So I'm sure when he started this camp stuff, he was younger. I know for a fact he was putting himself in a position of those kids. Being around high schoolers to a degree, it kind of brings you back to your days when you were younger. So you kind of dibble and dabble in what they're doing, but then you try to get back to being the adult again. You can't do that. You can't play both sides of the fence. You have to pick a side and stay there. And the side that you need to pick as the adult is to stay on the adult side at all freaking times. Your job is not to be cool. Your job is not to be liked by them. Who gives a damn if they like you? You're there to teach. You're there to teach. And teach those men how to be young men. Being out there trying to be cool, talking trash with them, that's what that gets you. Get your ass jumped by 7 teenagers. That's what happens, Cam Newton. So this is all your fault. And I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm just being truthful. It's your damn fault. There's no damn way that an adult who's running a camp allows, and I say allow because it's something that he cultivated, that type of environment. He did. You allowed that to happen. That's just a symptom of the many inappropriate things that you allowed to happen in your camp, Cam Newton. All the loose talking, the inserting yourself in trash talk, going back and forth with kids. I mean, once the first kid disrespected you years ago, you should have just closed the camp. And I know it's easier said than done from my vantage point, but then again, if Cam Newton did not make up in his mind to start doing things that were different, meaning that, you know what, I gotta change what I'm doing because these kids are getting too loose at the lip. They're getting too disrespectful. I gotta change something. If you did not change anything about what you did, and you continue to go out there doing the same damn thing, expecting different results, then this is all on you, Cam Newton. It's you. It's your fault. You're the one to blame. Nobody else. You. So it's your fault that you got your ass jumped. I feel bad for you, but I don't pity you like, oh, these kids are so disrespectful. How dare they jump on Cam Newton? No. Cam Newton is so ignorant. How dare you allow yourself to get in a position where you're being jumped by the athletes that you're supposed to be trying to help and give exposure to? That's embarrassing. That's on Cam Newton. That's on Cam Newton. That's on Cam Newton. That's on Cam Newton. Leave a comment if you think otherwise. Leave a comment if you think that this is not his fault. I'm not going to blame the parents of the kids. I'm not. Because this is your program. You could easily shut it down. You don't have to take it. But then again, that video is not an isolated incident, folks. This has been happening. Now the fight, I don't know if fights have been happening as much as the disrespect in terms of the verbal disrespect. Because I'm sure if the fights were something that were normal, then I'm sure we would have many videos of that. Because people have their phones at their hip. They're just going to ready to bring it out and just press record. So I'm sure the fights are not a norm, but the arguments and the trash talking is a norm. But that's what feeds the monster of a physical altercation. And if you don't do anything about it and Cam continues to, continue on the same path, then the only thing that is going to come out of this is death. Someone's going to get shot. It's just a matter of time. Because if I told you this 3 years ago, I don't know how long ago it was when Cam Newton and another player were going back and forth. He was being disrespected. But I don't know how far along that was. But imagine back then if I made a video, because I wasn't on YouTube then, but let's say, hypothetically speaking, for the sake of this conversation, let's say that I made a prediction and said, man, a couple of years from now, man, Cam Newton's going to get jumped by these players. They're going to fight him. Most of you guys would be like, nah, they're not dumb enough to try to fight him. No one would try to fight Cam. Really? What just happened? They fought him. I'm going to make a prediction again. If this doesn't stop, if Cam Newton doesn't stop what he's doing or change his approach to the way that he's doing this, I don't think he can even change his approach, because his credibility is shot in the community. I don't mean by people. I mean by the disrespectful kids, the ones that come out there and have an agenda, the parents who don't know how to raise their kids. I'm talking about those. For the most part, people do respect Cam Newton, but there's a small pocket. Amongst those, he's lost all credibility. He can't regain that back. So he either stops this little camp thing that he does, or move it to somewhere else, like change it. Like change the entire infrastructure, change the blueprint, like change the whole dynamic of it. Have high standards and requirements that are needed to come in there. Have a bunch of expectations and rules, and if it's a one strike you're out kind of thing. Set a precedence that you're not going to take the nonsense. Because I'm telling you now, I'm making a prediction now. If this continues, and if Cam Newton continues to do this little 7-on-7 camps that he's doing, and he doesn't change his approach, the next thing that's going to happen in a couple of years is that someone's going to either be stabbed, or there's going to be some kind of gun shooting. Someone's going to get brutally hurt. Someone's going to get hurt. Now, I'm not talking about with fists. I'm talking about with weapons. That's where it's going to progress to. That's what it grows into. That's what you're slowly conceiving when you don't do anything different and you continue to do the same damn thing. The writing has been on the damn wall. The minute the kids started to disrespect you, Cam, you should have shut it down or changed your approach, but you never changed. Because I'm Cam, I keep it real. This is just me. Okay, you're going to keep it real. So you really get your ass whooped one day or really get hurt. Because you almost did. And you saw in the video, he wasn't trying to fight. And I saw that. I made the same observation that Shannon Sharp made. Yeah, he would just hold, kind of like restraining the kid, kind of like moving him around so he doesn't get hit. But hey, at some point, you're going to end up throwing blows because they're going to be coming after you. And it's just a natural response as a human being to defend yourself. A self-defensive approach. You could be preventative all you want, Cam. But if people are coming after you, then you got to stop it. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. And the reason why I'm saying it's his fault, he needs to see it as his fault as well, because he's not going to change unless he sees it as his fault. If he thinks that it's not his fault, he'll continue doing the same damn thing. And the same things are going to continue to happen over and over and over and over again. All right? So tell me what you guys think, man. Do you think that it's his fault? Do you think it's the parents' fault? Do you think it's the kid's fault? Me, if I had a pie chart, the whole pie chart would be filled with Cam, 100% Cam. Nobody else's fault. Because I can't, as a person, you can only focus on your locus of control, right? You can only focus on things that you can control. I can't control how a parent raised their kids. I can't control how an uncle tells his son, or his nephew, whatever, to behave. I can't control how you were brought up. But what I can control is what happens in my camp. And if you can't meet my expectation, you're getting the F out. So 100% is all on Cam. I'm not, maybe it's the kid's fault. Well, 50% Cam Newton, 50% the kids. Well, maybe 20% kids, 30% the adults, 50% camp. No, none of that. No. The pie graph is filled with camp. 100% camp. It's his fault. It's his fault. Now, I'm not excusing the behavior of the kids. No, they were wrong for that. Very wrong. But it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about who's to blame. How did we get here? How did we get to this point? At some point, we have to start looking at the adults in the room and stop looking at the kids and point to their parents. Whose program are they coming to? They're coming to your program, Cam Newton. They're coming to your camp, Cam Newton. How can you allow this to happen at your camp? That's the question. And the first thing you need to do as a man is look at yourself in the mirror and be like, man, I'm doing something wrong. I got to change something. And if your first response is, well, these kids, they got to learn how to respect. No, you have to learn to respect yourself first, Cam Newton. And the minute you were disrespected, you should either pull the plug on this, change the entire dynamic of your whole camp, or reconsider changing your whole entire image. I don't know. Hire some security out there with you. I don't know. Or stop intermingling with the verbiage with those students. Stop putting yourself on their damn level. Try doing something different, Cam Newton, and you won't get what you got. Because I'm telling you, if you continue doing this BS, somebody's gonna get hurt. Next thing you know, it's gonna be a gunshot. And hopefully you're not the one on the receiving end of a bullet. Take care, guys. Leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think. All right, bye.